Good evening and welcome to another edition of the weekly Amateur Kickoff podcast. Tonight we're joined by one of the biggest Spurs fans around and the master of Facebook and Twitter shithousery, Mr. Stephen McGrath. We're also joined tonight by a new face to the show, an Instagram sensation with his fan page, Most of the Gold, and also my brother, Josh Mackie Murphy. So, boys, how are we feeling today? How are we getting on?
Good now, yeah. Just after the game last night,
Last night's game. I think that's the feeling most Spurs fans are having at the moment, is that feeling of relief. I was talking to Steve yesterday about it. I texted him about 1:30. The pre-match jitters were in place even 6 hours before the game, and I just said I'm not confident this game at all. So look, great result last night, but look, we'll get into the podcast really quickly, okay? So first up, Most of the Goat. Obviously, Josh, this is your face reveal.
Yeah.
Who you actually are. A long time standing on Instagram over the last year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah, I started it last March, and it's been going since then, but it's just mad. I never, first when it started off, it was just a bit of a joke, Mr. Sissoko. We all know as Spurs fans how he started off at the club, not very good. Took him a while to kind of get going, but I thought then when he did get going, I was like, some crack now if he scored. And then I one day I was just sitting there and I was like, because I always heard about these pages posting every day. So I was like, I might as well give it a go and see what happens. And I never thought that it would actually gain a following. But as it went on, these people just got attached to it. And I was like, it's class because it really gave me an opportunity to connect with Spurs fans online as well. So from there, it just went on and it is what it is today now. And we're here.
Absolutely. And what's the plan now going forward for you? Kind of doing a bit of rebranding, are you?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of, because it's obviously he scored last year and then twice last year, and then nothing really happened since, and I've kind of found it hard at times to keep motivated with it. But lately now, obviously now I'm on the podcast, this might bring a bit of activity to the account again, and now that I have the face reveal, I'm going to start doing Instagram lives and stuff after games and talking to the fans and just interacting with them more and just trying to get the account going again and get a big following back,
Unbelievable. Look, it's really good.
I was there, by the way.
Yeah, you were there, weren't you?
You
were there for that, weren't you? Yeah, you were there. I was actually really made. I actually wasn't watching that game, and Josh texted me and was just like, I can't believe it. And I'm like, what?
No,
He's like, he scored. Like, Jesus Christ.
You were there for the first half, I remember, though. And you were like, lad, it feels like Slade that Sissoko could score. And I was like, we'll see what happens now. And then he actually did, and I couldn't believe it. It was just amazing.
And then it was 7 days, and he scored again.
Yeah, 240-something days for the first goal, then 7, and now we're on 324, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I suppose let's go into last night's game. What were your thoughts and feelings on last night's game, Steve? Obviously, we talked about relief at the beginning of the session here. So, but overall, I suppose the analysis of the game, how did you find it? How did you think it went?
I guess I think the big thing for me was that we've been on the receiving end of that scoreline in those kinds of fixtures so often. My mind immediately cast back to Newcastle at home last year, 1-0.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, where we've teams will just sit low and even in another group chat I'm in last night, someone said to me that they said Spurs aren't playing really well. And I said, where was it? There's an 8-man defense there. And I said, I took a picture off the screen at the time, and there was 10 of the 11 Burnley players in their defensive third. And I said, it's incredibly hard for us to break that down. But the issue is that, and I think what happened to us before, and it's not by any means a disrespect to Pochettino or that, but I think in those games, Pochettino kind of pushed us to attack a little too much, which got us caught out.
Yes.
And we conceded the goal at the other end, I think. And especially against, we've a terrible history against Chris Wood. Burnley kind of in general, but in particular Chris Wood and what's his name up front with him?
Ashley Barnes.
Barnes and Wood. You know what I mean? So like they're exactly the kind of players that we struggle against when they kind of bully our players around a little bit, they go in a little bit hard. So I think for us, I think had we overcommitted at any stage, we would have been punished. Like they were unlucky to not to score, but I don't know. For me, I think it was just a good case of like game management and lineup selection. I think we were all a little bit surprised not to see Reguilon start. I think we were surprised to see Musa Sissoko play, but when you look back now, it kind of made sense. Reguilon wouldn't have been as strong in the air as Davies is, as pedestrian as Davies is about everything he does. He's just a little bit more stable, a little bit stronger, I think. And that's what, like against Burnley, that's what you need.
I think even actually talking about Reguilon, I think even Doherty over Aurier for set pieces last night probably made more sense. When you really look back on it, it was one of those performances or one of those, I suppose, lineups that on reflection now it's kind of like, yeah, that does make sense. And I suppose as fans, we want to see our best 11 playing, but is our best 11 the best 11 to play to actually play against Burnley? So I think that's the big part of it. Josh, what was your feelings last night in the game? Obviously, I didn't watch it with you last night, but how were you feeling before the goal went in? Were you kind of saying, "Oh, it's going to be 0-0," or Burnley might nick it?
Honestly, like everything that Steve said was right. Like, but I always kind of had the thought in my head: if Burnley do score and go 1-0 up, I thought we'd be in a lot of trouble then, because if they were hanging on for a 0-0 and trying to throw it up, but if they got to 1-0. The whole team would have just sat back and we would have found it very, very hard to break it down. I thought that the man management was perfect though by Mourinho. He even said it after the match in the interview. He was kind of a bit wary on making changes for a while because he was saying he had thoughts of bringing in Lo Celso and playing Lo Celso and Ndombele together. But doing that would have meant to have to sacrifice Sissoko or Davis. And then obviously then you're losing the aerial battle, which was necessary to win the game. So obviously then he made the switch for Gio to come on for Ndombele, and I think it turned out well. But I always knew it was going to be a kind of a rough game, but I never expected it to be the high scoring performance that we've been putting on the past few weeks.
Yeah.
But it was it was a rough game and tough performance now, but in terms of winning, it was a great win to come out 1-0 and have the 3 points in the end,
Yeah, I thought that an interesting point that Steve made was in our Pochi, or we would be a little bit more gun-ho, but I think we actually have players in midfield now that are not afraid to play the forward pass. Even our deepest midfielder, Highbury, at times was playing forward passes that were breaking the front five or the kind of that block of five for Burnley a lot of times. So we don't commit a lot of players forward, and we can actually break that front, that five block in midfield. And once we bypass that, then we were sacrificing one player to go either side on to basically attack either Doherty or Davies. I actually thought Davies did very well last night when he was down the left wing. Really good actually. And Doherty probably didn't have his best game, but he was still providing some really good cover at the right there. Going back to, I suppose, Mourinho's game management, are we seeing early signs of something more special than what Poch was giving us in those games? Steve?
I think he's far more like pragmatic about it. Like, I mean, like a lot of the time, Pochettino was kind of too proud to make a change or to kind of hold his head up and go, like that's what he had his favourites. Like Mourinho, I wouldn't say he has his favourites. Like obviously Lucas Moura, kind of sometimes you'd wonder why he gets the start, but you can see his work rate in the game, as ineffective it might be at times. But I just feel under Pochettino, like he he was very stubborn in his lineups. He was very stubborn in his substitutions and sticking with it on the pitch. And just you'd see him shouting just like vamos, vamos, vamos. Just instead of like actually kind of hang on a second, I need to change this and tweak that. Which we saw earlier on that in Mourinho's time, like when he like subbed Dyer off at half time and things like that, like or in the first half. So I think game management wise, we're getting a lot smarter. Take Lamela when he came on last night. Like he came on there, he threw himself about, like the smart fouls. Like I know Andy Hinchcliffe thinks it was a red card. It was never a red card,
No.
But like if Lamela had come on against West Ham instead of Bale, we wouldn't have drawn that game.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you.
So too.
Here's another question to pose about the game management side of things. I think it's a bit of both. How would you have felt if Poch had the squad that Mourinho had last night? Do you think that he had more options to actually be able to say, I'll bring on Vinicius if I have to here, and if we score, I'm actually going to change my mind the last second? Or did Poch have those options to him to really do that? Like, I don't know if he did.
As Graham just said there, like intelligent fouls, I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Intelligent, another word that Mourinho used in the documentary. I look, fair enough. I get the argument that some might say, whereas like Mourinho has been given all these players and Pochettino wasn't. But like, look at the spend. Like there was very little spend involved in it. I don't think Mauricio Pochettino would have gone for a Matt Doherty or a Højbjerg, or like a Joe Hart on a free. I think like he would have wanted the younger, more kind of free flow and more enthusiastic. Like Clinton and G again. So I while I get the argument, yes, that he has the players there and that, another fair point from Graham there as well. Like,
absolutely, great point.
The fact that Jose is there is one of the big reasons why we managed to get Vinicius, for example. I don't think he goes there if Poch is there. I definitely don't think Gareth Bale would have gone there. As much as he loves Spurs, I don't think he would have gone there.
Absolutely.
So like, when you look at the Pochettino era, it was like, in my eyes, it was a success completely. Like from where we were to where we got to, absolutely a success. But to go to that next level, yes, you do need support in terms of the transfer market. But as we've proven this summer, it doesn't mean going out and spending 100 million.
Yeah.
So I feel like as well, Mourinho, we all know the stories from behind the scenes. He had targeted these specific players, picking out, and he was smart deals as well. As we said, we didn't spend much this summer compared to other teams. I feel like Poch, he's picking out these young players, but these young players as well were going to be hard to get and were going to cost a lot more. He was looking outside of the league. Well, if we notice, Mourinho this season picked out people that had Premier League experience and obviously some foreign players as well, but I think it worked out very well for us in the end.
It was kind of reminiscent of the Porto rebuild job that we watched in the playbook. Very, very reminiscent of that.
That, like, as I was watching that episode of the playbook, and he was on about his time at Porto, and he said, we went to the second division and we got this person. I was like, oh. He said, then we got this person. Wasn't like a great player or anything like that, but he had heart. And I was like, yeah, I see what I was doing. And I like one of Højbjerg's statements about how I'm the kind of player. He said that every win drives me on, and he said it drives me to give more and more. And I love that. Like it's the fact that like when he gets a win, he's like fired up more and more for the next one and the next one. Yeah. And that's what you need. Like it's not this like a case of you win a game, you sit back on, that's grand, we won, brilliant. Like he's immediately thinking, okay, drive on, push on, you know. That's the strong mentality that we will have with him that we wouldn't have gotten with Jake Livermore.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they were like, they came through the academy and but the likes of Livermore or the likes of Bentaleb, I don't think we're ever going to be those leaders that we need. And you look at the stats already, Højbjerg, most passes in the Premier League already this season. Do you know? And it's not backwards and sideways passes. Like he's trying to get forward, get on the front foot. If you look at the pass map from last night's game, he was the hub. He was the hub of all the passing that went on, you know.
Yeah. And he had the most centrality as well last night. Like he's position, he knows his position exactly where it's supposed to be. And he's so disciplined. And we're going to go on to, I suppose, Kane and Son next, but does Højbjerg have a shout at being our player of the season so far?
I think he's our best signing, definitely. Honestly, I think he is going to be the most important signing of this summer. You can already see the benefits he has to the team, I think. Definitely.
Well,
I don't know if
20 goals.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Like he's the one part of the team that's changed from last year. He's the mainstay in terms of the signings that have come in. So, is this potentially a reason why Kane and Son have such sensational form this season? Is this the level that we saw coming this season, or were the early signs with the restart, with Project Restart? What do you think, Josh?
I don't know. I think that, like, at times last season it was hard to really judge our attack because Kane and Son, obviously Kane was injured for a while and Son was injured as well, and didn't really play together for a while until Project Restart. And you could kind of see by the end of Project Restart when we were scoring goals again, when we bet Newcastle and we bet Leicester and we bet Arsenal as well. And you could kind of see, like, okay, there's something kind of going on here. But then I don't think anyone expected the stats that Kane and Son are producing this season so far. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Like, I saw a thing today, a stat calculator of Kane. This is outrageous now, but if Kane kept up the form he was doing now at the start of the season, I think they said he'd finish the season with 30 goals and 50 assists, which is just crazy, like. And like he already has 8, and the highest the Premier League record is 20 by Henry and De Bruyne. So he can definitely break it this season, like.
One of my favorite things of that stat where it showed like the most prolific partnerships in Premier League history was Anderton and Sheringham on it.
Yeah,
I
could not believe that.
That's my era. So that's what when I first started. Say when I can vividly remember. I suppose I can remember say like the 91 FA Cup and that, yeah. But when I really got into it, it was Sheringham, Barnby. Klinsmann was the big signing that year because I can remember my dad trying to explain the importance of that signing. You know how big a deal it was, you know. But that really surprised me to see them there. I suppose like Anderton had one of those skills that not a lot of people have nowadays, where he was able to like bend in a pass across like while he was on the move. A lot of players now, they're like Aurier, for example, he will blitz down the wing, a brilliant run. And then he get into perfect crossing position and he'll stop and put his foot on the ball and come back. Do you know? Whereas like back in those days, Anderton was just whipping that on the move and Sheringham was in there to head it in, or Klinsmann was in there to head it in. But I think when you made a good point, Jamie, I suppose, in terms of how Højbjerg could be low-key be the catalyst to the Kane and Son link up. Like he's given that surety, that bit of steel behind him that maybe wasn't there before. There was a bit of an unease or lack of trust in the players behind them. I also think that as much as we as Spurs fans would always have known how good Kane was in terms of passing, and what his actual potential as a 10 could have been, we never utilised it really. It was like he was up top, and if he dropped deep and got the ball and played a good pass, that was grand, you know. Whereas I think Mourinho is like actually telling him, no, this is how I want you to play, is to do that. because you could see even last night, Burnley at times were doubling up on Son, because they know that he's the main threat, and they were leaving Kane because Kane was playing a little bit deeper. And I think that's the idea. There is it's unpredictable in terms of like Kane might drop deep, he might not, and I think the opposition defenders aren't sure what to do in terms of marking them or to combat either one of them dropping deep, or you see anybody that gets the ball between the halfway line or even further back and the beginning of the opposition third, and straight away once the Spurs player gets their foot on the ball, Son is just turning around and he's making that run.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the part of Højbjerg that I'm actually very surprised by, and it wasn't really something that I saw with him at Southampton, was I think of the fact that if you put Winks into the exact same position that Højbjerg is playing now, like what does he always do? We know what he does. It's sideway passing. But I think Højbjerg plays a lot of forward passes and it almost makes the opposition's defense not be able to set properly. And there's actually more space for Kane and for Son to actually make them early runs that they were doing previously, I believe. But the supply wasn't going past that first chain of the defense of the opposition team. And because it's happening more now, it's allowing Ndombele, it's allowing Sissoko even. I even think Sissoko is playing more forward passes than I've ever seen him. Yeah, I think what happens is he's been the catalyst for the more forward thinking, even though we've got him in to be a player who was a defensive player to show up the defense. But I actually think Højbjerg is my player of the season for Spurs so far this season because of the fact that he is the player that has come in, that has been a constant in the team. And we've seen massive changes since then. I even loved against United when Reguilon went to get the ball and he got the ball in the left wing and Højbjerg basically went to get it first, but he kind of told Reguilon to move on with the ball and he started to actually shout at Reguilon, kind of, come on, like that. And it was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, do you know what I mean?
Do you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of that lad in I suppose, like, if anyone's listening from the UK, they mightn't get this. But do you know that lad in hurling or in Gaelic football when he like gets the ball and the fella runs in head on at him and goes to shoulder him to flatten him, but he plows through him and then he kicks the ball 60 yards down the field and it goes, God, like, do you know, he might get plowed in with a shoulder and hurling, but he'll get the slitter and he'll knock it 80 yards down the field and celebrate.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? That's
exactly what it is.
I think that's the kind of guy that Højbjerg is, you know, and I think the reason why he doesn't get plaudits as such is because, like, okay, now fair enough, he did two Zidane esque moves that are nice. But I think generally that's not his game. It's just get the ball, look around, safely move it on.
Exactly.
Make sure that you're in an open position to receive the ball if someone else is in trouble, and give it to someone else then to move on. So he's not going to have any. Well, I was going to say he's not going to be having any like amazing creative moments in that, but then that assist for Aurier.
No, he isn't. Golden Weed. So, lads, any opinions on Tanguy this season? I think we all agree that Tanguy has been absolutely unbelievable this season for us. I don't even think he's actually at full potential as of yet. I think that his fitness is still 65, 70 minutes. But as I seen someone tweet about it, they were tweeting about it today. They were saying last year at Burnley he was being taken off after like however many minutes. Last night in the first 30 seconds he was literally like nutmegging lads on the left wing, like really progressive. So we haven't seen the best of him as of yet, I don't think. But I'm really impressed by him this week. And rest in peace, Michael Vorm, absolutely. Yeah. Vorm was a great servant. The game against Norwich in the FA Cup, that was obviously one of his last moments.
Let's remember for that game against Liverpool.
Yes.
Yeah,
he was brilliant. He came rushing out of his goal, and he was really commanding and stuff. And I was like, gee, what a backup keeper we have here, man. What a steal.
When you watch the documentary back, I actually felt quite sorry for him about the Norwich game, because it purely came down to just he hadn't played a competitive game in so long.
He wasn't sharp enough.
He just wasn't ready for it. So I did feel sorry for him now, but
goalkeepers union, right? I understand. I get it. Like when you haven't played for ages like that, like, I mean, you're confident. Like being a goalkeeper is all about confidence. It's like you have one little shaky moment in the game and your head is rattled for every other ball that comes near you.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I think having been out for so long, I think, like, look, that ball came to him. What he was probably trying to do was like to kind of just like, you might stop it and knock it to the ground, then catch it again. And I felt for him. I really, really did. But at the same time, yes, I cursed him and called him every name under the sun.
Absolutely. And going back to goalkeepers too, it's a little bit different than strikers. A striker can miss a goal scoring opportunity and it's kind of forgotten about. But if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's in the highlights for the next 30 years. Like, it just seems to be one of those things that haunts people. I don't know why it's so different, but that mistake obviously was his last moment.
Just summed up 25 years of my life playing soccer. But one of the boys might miss a sitter from 4 yards out. Oh, unlucky. Do you know what I mean? Like, I might let something slip through or something like that. Like, and it's, geez, he's brutal indeed. Do you know what I mean?
It's just the worst thing ever, isn't it? Like, it's just the worst thing ever.
It is, look, that's the life, like, you know. Best keeper since Kane, yeah. That's actually was the anniversary of that was this week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, last week. Yeah.
He made some
I suppose that's going into the next part of it. Like, at this point now, obviously we've had a really good start to the season. We probably were 3 minutes really off the top of the league, aren't we? Like, we are, like, and I hate saying that. I hate saying that. We're 3 minutes off the top of the league. But obviously there's title talk now within the media. Our odds have basically tumbled down in the last 3 weeks. I think we've gone from 40 to 1, was it, at the beginning of the season, to as low as 7 to 1 or 6 to 1 today. Where do we stand on this talk, lads? Are we behind it, or are we kind of going, you know what? Let's just calm down a bit here.
Mourinho, I suppose, like, he handled the question really well in his post-match press conference last night. He said that he's not going to consider us title contenders, but he expects us to win every match we play. That's the only way you can approach it. Like, he won't write it off, obviously, but I think it's absolutely no secret that Europa League is his goal this year. Like, him not having to bring on Vinicius or Bale last night will have been music to his ears.
Yeah.
I think Paddy from Limerick. Paddy is one of the most optimistic men you'll ever meet, so he is. But I have too much pessimism for that kind of thing. But no, yeah. I think the Europa League is the goal. I think look, Jose is going to do everything he can for that. Premier League, like, as everybody's saying at the moment, is anybody's. Like, 5 games in, we've not had a proper pre-season. So, like, if you look at any normal season where you do have a pre-season, it still takes 6, 7, 8 games before you kind of get up to that level. Yeah. I think what's standing us well probably is those extra fixtures we had for the Europa League. That probably gave a few that needed the edge.
Yeah.
But I think to say we're going to be title contenders, I'm not optimistic enough to say that. But I think there is definitely something there this year. There's just a different air, there's a different atmosphere around it. There's a different air to everything. There's a lot more positivity until the referee blows his whistle at the start of a match. But, you know, it's just absolute breaks then for 90 minutes.
I think so too. Yeah. What do you think, Josh? Title talk or
I don't really want to listen to it. I don't really want to listen to it, to be honest. And I think we touched on it a few weeks ago, Jamie, and we're talking about how Mourinho has kind of even changed our mentality on how we're going into games week by week. I think for years when we're with Poch, there was always this kind of good optimism at the start of the year and good optimism going into games, but at the end of the season there was always that kind of pessimistic view of what is it going to come to, though. I think this season, and we've talked about it, I'm finding myself, I'm just going game by game and saying, focus on winning that game, and then we'll look to next. And we'll see what happens at the end of the season. Like, who knows, And I think Mourinho's really buying into that as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just think that's the way to go. And I think the Europa League is definitely, that's the main focus for him. But if we
I think obviously, I think Brighton and West Brom are two massive games for us. They're two massive games, and then it's the three after that. Then, that's when we need
to really win these next two games. So we are set up eventually to play them three big games, and we have Liverpool in December as well. So, like, we just need to
4 or 5 game run there, kind of November, December. Horrible, but
Leicester and Wolves are thrown in there as well at some point.
Yeah, but I think I'd much prefer it to be that way now at this time of year and get it out of the way now rather than have that kind of a patch coming into March, April when you could potentially be in the latter stages of the cups. It's not going to be around Christmas, so you're not playing like City, Arsenal, Liverpool on like the 20th, 26th, and 30th of December. So there's a bit of spacing between them that I think might suit us. I think, look, Burnley, Brighton, West Brom are 3 games that every Spurs fan will be absolutely bricking it over. We have the Burnley one over with. Brighton, again, Brighton's one of those games. A bit more open. But we could go out and we could win 5-0 or we could lose 3-0 like we did last year.
Yeah. But it's looking and Brighton are dangerous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so. Look, we won't go to Sunday's game as so far or as of yet because we still have a big game on Thursday in the Europa League. So, how do we feel about Thursday in the Europa League? Do we feel like it'll be very much a similar game to what we played last week, last Thursday? I know that Royal Antwerp are actually they're first in the Belgian Super League. They're had 20 points, 6 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, best goal difference in the league. They also bet Ludogorets last Thursday 2-1. So it's going to be a tough game, I think. How do you feel about it, boys? Steve, how do you feel about it on Thursday? Are you optimistic or pragmatic going into it?
No, I'm actually optimistic about this one. I like. It's funny. It was when it comes to these like potential banana skins in the Europa League. I think Jose just has the game management to see it out. What I've noticed about a lot of, I say maybe excluding the West Ham game or United game, but these kind of ones like against Royal Antwerp or that, is that he'll happily play to a certain level for 60 minutes and be a little bit sensible in our play. And at that point, then he'll say, okay, he'll tweak something. He'll bring on somebody to change a little bit while keeping the chemistry that's there on the pitch. And he might bring on, we'll say, like Lamela, just to change things up. So you still have somebody who's fast, but just a little bit more aggression and a little bit more trickery. So while it could be a potential banana skin, as I said, I don't see it. I think we'll be through this one.
Okay. I'm tending to agree with that too. The Europa League games seem to be I suppose a step down from the Champions League games, which is fair to say, I think. The Champions League games were as competitive as what the Premier League was. I think I'll be fairly comfortable on Thursday as well. Josh, how do you think the team will be set up on Thursday? Do you think that there'll be many changes from last night, or do you think it'll just be 1 or 2 players that are rested?
I'd say it'll be a few changes anyway. I'd say Kane, Son might play, but I don't think Kane will be playing. Vinicius definitely. I don't think Son will play either. I think Bale will start as well because I feel like that the Europa League games are kind of almost like Bale's preseason. It's a way to kind of get him in tune for the Premier League. I'd say the backline might change. I was thinking that Joe Roden might play, but he can't. He's not registered for the Europa League, so it's a shame. But maybe I could see Reguilon coming in and Aurier. Well, apparently Aurier has a small injury, so has to see if it'll be okay. And Gio will probably start as well, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with all those. Tanganga maybe
could play, yeah, maybe. And Dyer as well, I'd say, as he was injured past a while and he came back last night, so I say he kind of.
I say Sanchez might start.
I think Sanchez and possibly Tanganga. Reason being I say is that Jose will want Dyer against Brighton. I think he's like, do you like the way the terminology, like the slagging they say, like it's like Brexit football.
Brexit football, against progression.
Like you look at that Burnley side last night. As I said in the group, I said like it wasn't the most diverse team you've ever seen, but I think Dyer is the kind of centre half we'll need. I would love to see Rodon playing these kinds of teams. I think it would be ideal for him. It's just a pity that he couldn't have been registered for them. But I couldn't see him getting started on Sunday. But I think Dyer definitely sits this one out on Thursday, I think.
Yeah, and predictions, lads, for the game on Thursday.
Like it's hard. I said, like, I'd hold my hand up and say I know very little about Royal Antwerp. Like I said, I did as much as you did, Jamie, in terms of looking into them and seeing. But
lead position and stuff.
Like we will probably concede our Europa League minnows screamer. I was very, very surprised to see that we kept the clean sheet, but 2 clean sheets in a row is like, I mean, we've only 2 defeats in 20 games, but yet those are our first 2 clean sheets this season. You know,
what? Joe Hart was actually very good. I have to say that Joe Hart was very good last week, and Lloris was very good last night too. I have to say,
those 2 corners that came and claimed at the end.
He was as demanding as I've ever seen him.
Like, as a Spurs fan, you're 1-0 up, Burnley away. Last 5-10 minutes, they get a corner, and you're like, "Oh, Jesus!"
That's 2-1. It's a 2-1 game at over.
And you see Lloris coming out, like, and even because I was watching it without the crowd noise, so I could hear him going, "Keep on!" And I was like, and he comes out and claimed it down the ground. I was like, "Yeah, just stay lying down the ground, make sure everyone's gone away." Keeper's trick, perfect. And then, like, not even 2 minutes later, another corner. I was like, "Oh, he's not. There's no way we're getting away with another one." And then going back post.
It was deja vu, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I have to say, whatever has happened, whether it's coaching or what it is, but Lloris, since Mourinho's come in, since that post-lockdown, since the project restart, he's been brilliant. He's been so reliable. He's been so steady. We're not relying on him to pass out from the back, which wasn't ever his strongest trait. So he's quite happy to get the ball and just lump it. And that's what Mourinho wants as well. But like his handling, positioning, has been brilliant.
He's always been a great shot stopper.
Yes, absolutely.
He's always been a great shot stopper. But
West Ham, could he have stopped it? But I genuinely feel that Joe Hart coming in there, as much as people will write off Joe Hart at this stage, I think Joe Hart coming in there was a little bit of a wake-up call for Lloris. But again, that's the mentality. You can hear Joe Hart in every game. He never stops talking. He never stops shouting command and telling what he wants. And that's exactly what he's been brought in there to do.
I thought his distribution was fantastic last week too. Especially his thrown. His thrown from
last week was unreal.
On the break was really good. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. And look, Rob's doing this live now, and people are watching it. He's going to make an absolute howler on Thursday night in the first 10 minutes probably. Dr. Spurs. I mean, that's again like.
It's very strange that Gazzaniga's still around, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think they're probably hoping for a fee out of him though.
Like Austin was on the bench last week. Do you know? I don't understand that.
But he's like, there's so much reshuffling for like homegrown, aren't they though? In the Europa League to get like spots.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
I think, and like, I like the way Mourinho goes on about the Europa League. How he says like he can have his full Europa League squad. They are on the sideline.
Yeah.
Do you know, and the 5 subs thing, like that 5 subs is a huge thing, and I'd be very confident in thinking that that's partly how he sold the whole thing to Daniel Levy about getting in the players is you want us to win a trophy. That Europa League is there. 5 subs again. Do you know, you get me this guy, and then I can keep those for the league and then for that Europa League. That's what I think. I still think it's going to be a while before we'll see Bale start a Premier League game. If he doesn't,
I think so too.
I think for Mourinho, Bale is his like prized possession to unlock for Europa League games and put him back in the box afterwards. Do you know? So to kind of predict Thursday night, I predict a win. How comprehensively I don't know.
Eriksen loan deal thoughts. Thomas Doyle, what do you think? I had a conversation with Josh about it yesterday morning, but
yeah,
look, I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen in the end. If
it's a motivated Eriksen, if he comes back from Inter realizing that the grass isn't actually greener, and it's a loan deal, I don't see what we'd lose in it.
Potentially Delhi on loan for 6 months to them, and him come back.
I was just going to say it. Delhi going the other way. I think Delhi starts on Thursday as well.
Really?
Yeah. I just
see at the moment. None of those FIFA comments in here now aren't chased.
He actually lost 4-0 in the first game and 6-0 the other night. So
we'll have to get him on for an apology, won't we, on this?
Yeah, that's true.
So I could see Delhi starting
at the moment, like,
isn't it? Yeah,
we just don't really know what's going on there. Like
he hasn't looked too bad in the games he's played.
Yeah, I think so.
He hasn't when the ball is played right to his feet. And that's always with Delhi. When the ball is played to Delhi at his feet, he's good. He'd beat a man. There's a bit of trickery about him. He'll play a really good pass, get himself in on goal. But will he actually work and bust a gut to get the ball? No. Yeah. And that's where I think the breakdown between him and Jose is that you look at Lucas Moura, incredibly ineffective in terms of goals and assists, but you look at last night. And when the Burnley players were knocking the ball around each other between the first defensive line and the second defensive line, he was running A to B to C back to A to try and intercept it. So that's what he wants. He wants effort. He doesn't want big name players to just stand up there wait for the ball to come to him. He doesn't care about that. That's why I suppose Moura gets in there. That's why he was playing the less glamorous players. That's why he got in the likes of Matt Doherty as opposed to a high profile right back, you know.
The other side of it too that they're saying is that is Kane is now effectively what Delhi was. He plays that position and he plays forward too, so it's number 9 and number 10. So
he's just a victim of formation, I think. Jose is very much a 4-3-3 manager. So where do you fit a Dele Alli into that?
Do you see a club coming in for Kane next summer?
Well,
I don't know.
If I was in charge of a club and we had that potential funds there, you'd be stupid to not inquire at least. But will you go? No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I would love to go back over my Twitter feed to 2-3 months ago and just gather up every account that said we should have cashed in on Kane, and just put them into like one pile and just kind of. Sure, that Nigel Farage meme was like, well, you're not laughing now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I was kind of saying that this could have possibly been Kane's last year, but I think with the way it's going now, I think he'll definitely at least want to see out another one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the challenge too of the Alan Shearer record will be in his mind, and then he won't go to another team in England. So, and you look at the big boys across Europe at the moment. Like a lot of them are in trouble, aren't they? Like really, like the only team that at the moment really that stands out is probably Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich probably are not going to splash out 200 million. Like.
I don't think so, and especially if they have
a Bundesliga club doesn't have that money.
Like, you know.
They haven't the money. They never have, and never will have it. No. Okay, so lads, look. Obviously, Nice podcast is a nice one because of the fact we won last night. Thankfully, it wasn't after the 3-3 against West Ham last week because that obviously wouldn't have been a very pleasant. Obviously, a lot of good.
It would have been just the three of us sitting here, just going like. But I look. I'm very optimistic about this season. I've always been a Jose fan. As much as the boys in the group chat like Clemson and that, like I hate Chelsea, but I always loved Mourinho. I love Mourinho as a tactician, how he went about the games, how he goes about the media and all that, you know. And then of course like the shithouser as well. Like even in his post-match interview when he was asked about leaving out Dele Alli, and he said like it's what happens when you're at a big club. You have to leave out big names because you've got such good squad depth. He goes, I had the same problem at Inter Milan. I had the same problem at Real Madrid. I had the same problem at Chelsea. But he never mentioned Man United. Like, you know, that was intentional. You know, that's what I like. Favorite moment of Spurs fans. Well,
I'm old
enough. I'm old enough to have watched us lift 3 trophies. So
that is true, actually. Yeah, that is true.
I think. Yeah. I think probably. I'm trying to think. Like I know, like Alan Nielsen one against Leicester was mad. Like it was just me and my dad down in the pub in Sheelan, and but they, of course, like beating Chelsea in the cup final. Probably.
Yeah, that was on my birthday too. Which is even more special for me. Like, on my birthday, 28th of February, 2008. Yeah.
Like. Look, let's be honest. I mean, we sit here and reminisce about Ajax last year. Like, if the question was what's the most emotional I've ever been after a game, it was probably that. And if you'd asked me the week before that, I would have said the City game. You know, but like that was the most emotional I've ever been after a game. But definitely, I think beating Chelsea in the League Cup for me.
Yeah, I think Chelsea to a League Cup. I think you know what, the good part about being a Spurs fan is obviously there's been a lot of pain along the way up to this point, and to be hopeful of this season and further seasons to come. Obviously, we get a lot of slack from the United fans saying that obviously it's okay having Mourinho now, like, and all this kind of stuff. But if Mourinho hands us a moment that we can remember forever. That's all we want. Like, I mean, even Europa League, that'd be a brilliant moment for us. Like, that'd be fantastic. The Premier League would just be in a completely different stratosphere. Do you know what I mean? That would be just be unbelievable. But if he can give us that,
I'll answer that question for Thomas. For all of us. Thomas,
sorry?
We dislike West Ham. We hate Arsenal. We don't just dislike them. We hate them. But I think to be in the stratosphere of like thinking of, my God, a Premier League. You know,
I don't care how Sarah goes. I don't care how Sarah goes. I don't care. Honestly, I don't.
But that's just it.
That's the whole point. But
like he'll leave you on bad terms.
Yeah, but you got the trophy because
do you know what I mean?
The best. Do you know what I mean? Something that we haven't won in nearly fucking. You know what I mean? 60 years, like. Do you know what I mean? It's that's for me. I like look. Like Jamie will have seen like in the group chat. I mean, like I give the United lads a bit grief in terms of their anti-Mourinho agenda,
Like he's their most successful manager is Fergie.
Mm.
Do you know? So I think yes, any manager is going to suffer there with Ed Woodward and the Glazers. Absolutely, I think for someone like Ed Woodward to be over transfer policy is madness, absolute madness. For a club that size, do you know, he's like what they would what they would do, I think, with the likes of technical director who's actually had a footballing background, I think would be very, very different in terms of scouting, in terms of
Lewis Campos or something in there now as well. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
haven't seen the opinions on the new jerseys. Well,
I don't mind today.
Very happy with it. Today. I'll be honest, I hated the first.
Yeah, I didn't like that first either, but it actually grew on me a lot. And even
but it always looks so cheap, doesn't it? The demo of it. It always looks so cheap.
You see those leaks, like the footy headlines ones, and you're like, oh, that's
they're just
the yellow one, I don't know about the badge in the middle.
No, I don't
like the colours either, the way they...
To be honest.
The gradient, yeah. If it was all yellow,
kind of goes kind of orangey and kind of wicked, kind of what it is, like it's so strange.
What do you think of this?
The jersey. Yes.
See that one? It's based on the Nike Air Max, the 95 Nike Air Max.
Is it kind of fluorescent, kind of all different colours? Is it?
It's so you know the gradient that's on the yellow one?
Yeah.
But it's greys. So it's like a light grey down to a dark grey with the yellow trim.
Yeah.
So it's a tribute back to one of the Nike Air Max that was iconic in London back in the 90s, the grey one with the yellow on it.
Cool.
But like I haven't seen anything of it other than the leaks that were there pre-season. Maybe it was just a consideration that wasn't brought out or whatever.
It may have been. But I hate the home jersey is really nice. I think it's really nice now. It's kind of like when you see those things about, you know, women basically buy like a dress on Wish or something, and it's like, this is what it is, and this is when you get it. But it's the kind of opposite when the Spurs jersey. Do you get what I mean? It looks really shit, but when you get it, it's like, Jesus, it's actually really nice.
Yeah.
And I had to get the genuine one. I couldn't get the DH Gate ones that and it's the material on it is really different to the older ones, last year's ones. Like it feels more like
it is actually. It feels heavier to me, I thought.
Yeah.
It feels like a better fit as well than the last few jerseys.
Yeah, well, I have to say that's not to losing 2 stone as well, so I'm not busting out of it. But I get 2 every season. Now this season I got the training top, the pink one, long sleeve, and I've got.
That's lovely. That is
I
lovely.
like it too. It's very nice.
It's probably one of the nicest now in years. But I'm still humming whether I'm going to get the away or the third. Like, just to me, the away jersey, like green, has never been one of our club colours. You know, so for me, it's just it's not a Spurs kit.
It doesn't look too bad, though. In fairness, it doesn't look too bad. It isn't the worst one I've ever seen. I think the away jersey is always hard to do anyway.
Yeah.
I love the alternative one for the Champions League semi-final. That one, that's still my favorite kit in the last. Like,
Grace,
I love that one so much. Like.
Yeah, the green,
went to
kind of greeny, awkward.
Green,
the pea green one. Yeah, we went to the Barcelona game at Wembley.
Yes,
and it was around the time of my birthday, and I Grace was like, "Do you want a jersey?" And I was like, "Nah, not really." Like, you know, and she was like, "What?" She was like, "I'll get you." Like, and she liked the green one, and I was kind of like, "Yeah, it's all right, but it's green, you know." And she's like, "Look," and she just bought it for me in the club shop. And I wore it in. I was like, "This is unreal." Yeah. And now I'm absolutely buzzing. Because it's like the nostalgia that's there now with that, you know. And I think, if you look back last year, like there was people crying out for it everywhere, for that kit. I was so happy that I had it. You know, it's going to be one of those iconic kits. Like you look back to, like the old Holston ones and things like that, like, you know.
Like the 84 FA Cup final one, that one, the blue one.
Yeah,
It's like that. I love that one so
blue.
much. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the light blue one.
Yeah,
I have
the 86
but that's our away color, like, isn't it? Like, that should be our away color majority of the time.
Yeah, should be
Yeah,
navy or
be
that light blue. Yeah, like the third strip last year.
Yeah, exactly. If
you look back historically, we had those. Remember, like the Puma ones. Like there was, I have the away and the third of that season where Puma did the 3 kits, and they were just one color. There was no trim color. There was no different color collar. It was just the home was white, the away was a navyish, and then the third was a light blue. And I think that was the same year we had that the centenary one with the half and half. Remember?
Yeah, well, I wasn't massive on that, to be honest. Overall,
it's the 125 years. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. The one for Aston Villa again.
Yes. Yeah.
The 4-4 that game was it? That was a 4-4 game, wasn't it? Yeah. So I think the prediction actually for tomorrow night, I'm going to go 3-1. 3-1 for Thursday night. That's my prediction for Thursday night. I think that seems like a sensible scoreline.
I'm going to say 3-0. I think that Joe Hart, I think he might be able to keep his clean sheet again, maybe. Imagine
2 weeks. 2 weeks in a row of a clean sheet for Joe Hart. Look,
I think the clean sheet thing is the big one. I think. I think so too. Whatever about the wins and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I think the clean sheet as a whole team and as a collective brings it together a bit more and kind of gives you more reassurance, more stability. Like, I mean, you win a game. Say if you win a game 3-2 or whatever, or even the United game, if you say 6-1, like if that was 6-0, you'd be going in there. You're going, lads, massive win, clean sheet, brilliant. You know,
it's complete domination.
Exactly.
There's still a question mark over the game or the performance.
Even though it was a penalty, like we know that. Look.
Yeah.
No comments.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because Kane will only be delighted.
You're just going to see a comment in a minute on the screen from that weekly armchair, aren't you? From Kane. Just be quoting his tweet from. Look, lads. Look, I think we had a really good chat tonight about all things Tottenham. First of all, I want to say thanks to all the comments tonight. Unbelievable, lads. Bruno. Thanks to all the comments tonight. I hope Barry had his dinner eventually. I hope Barry is, but he was a part of the chat tonight. But some really, really good interaction. Secondly, I'd like to thank most of the GOAT, Josh, for coming on the show. Great having you on. We'll have you on again. A really great chat. And any other Spurs fans watching tonight, please let us know in future because we can try and get you on for a chat here.
And let's hope next time there's a lot of Spurs fans on here together that it's as positive as this one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Thanks for having me on anyway. I appreciate it.
No bother at all. And finally,
we should have done a big dramatic face reveal, Josh.
Yeah.
Having you just sit there kind of going, do you know what I mean? You should have the hood on and it's going like, it's me.
I was thinking maybe put on like a face mask for the whole thing, like, no?
Yeah.
I should have bought what's this local cut out and put it over my face. And
yeah.
Put it off or something,
that
would have been.
It wasn't a very dramatic reveal, but look, it's now out in the open. So look, definitely. Look, thanks again, lads. We'll speak to you. Hopefully, the next podcast will be as positive as Steve said. Hopefully we'll do one maybe early next week, and we can basically talk some more about Spurs. Follow most of the GOAT on Instagram, Josh. Is it?
Yeah.
That's your main page. I have a Twitter.
I haven't, but I'm not using it yet. I'm going to start getting onto it soon now.
Good.
It's part of the rebrand, you know.
Yeah, and follow at Steve McGrath on Twitter. As I said at the open of the show, he is the Eric Lamella of Twitter and Facebook. You will see him poking bears all across social media platforms. Politicians, fellow sports people. It is absolutely unbelievable. So get on that stuff, okay? But look, thanks to my boys for the show. Brilliant.
Cheers, boys. Pleasure.
Cheers, lads.
Thank you. See ya.